What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Chase with Courtside with Chase. Hey, today I have a certain paddle that is one of the funnest paddles I've gotten to play with and gotten to test out, but I'll also say it is one of the most challenging ones that I have had to use. But before I get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow my Instagram at Chase_Cullum. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we are going to be doing a massive giveaway. We're gonna be giving away a paddle and a really nice crush bag. And the cool thing is we're getting close. We almost have 400 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who's supported so far. The last video that I put out with Mo from the PPA tour and the 5-minute lesson has really been doing awesome. And so it's been really cool to see the support. It's really cool to see people learning the same things and new techniques that I've been learning. So major shout out to everyone who's supported so far. The community is growing and it's super exciting. So the paddle we're talking about today, though, is the Gearbox Pro Ultimate. Now, if you're familiar with Gearbox, then you already know what these paddles are about. If you're not familiar, hopefully I can shed a little bit of light on these. But the main thing about these paddles, they are hot. Holy cow, they are very poppy. They are heaters. I mean, seriously, like, you got to be able to control yourself. If you don't, then you're going to be hitting the ball outside of the gym, outside of the court, wherever you go. This paddle's hot. With that actually comes a lot of positive things. And so I'm actually excited to kind of dive into my experience using this and see if maybe it's the right fit for you. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is this is technically an elongated face. Now, one thing with these paddles that you're gonna find out is there is a lot of forgiveness. Because these paddles are not really made for control and they're made for a lot of power, you are going to get a lot of forgiveness, especially with this elongated face. So if you're someone who still kind of struggles with, hitting the sweet spot every single time, this is a really, really good paddle because it gives you a lot of forgiveness. Now, the one that I have is there's a couple weights here on the bottom and up and on the side here. This has really just kind of helped with even more forgiveness. But even without that, this paddle is really designed with the elongated face to help you hit the ball whenever you're hitting it, to still have opportunities to hit better shots. So the elongated face does allow for a better sweet spot and gives you that flexibility, just in case you're not perfect all the time, like me, to still get the ball back in play. If you go on Gearbox's website, they're going to pitch this paddle as a power plus control. And Gearbox, I love your products, but I'm gonna have to be honest. If you are newer to the game in the intermediate stage, this thing is powerful. Now, this is more control than the other Gearbox that's out, but this still is super. I mean, I remember the first shot that I hit with this, I barely hit it and it just went flying. So if you're gonna get into the Gearbox world, any Gearbox user that you meet or find, they're gonna tell you you're gonna need to spend some serious time getting to dial these paddles in because they're not that simple. They are pretty tough, they're pretty difficult. Once you figure out the flow, once you figure out the feeling and how to control it, there's some really amazing things that happen. With these paddles, if I have this paddle, I would not speed up to me, because the nice thing about this, if you speed it up and I just hit you with the small counter like this, I mean, this thing literally is going to fly back at you so fast. And even if you drive it at me and it's a very fast drive and I'm not quick enough to get to it, if I just put my paddle up, the defensive shot from this paddle that the ball's coming back at you at and the rate that it's coming back at, it's so hard to get anything past someone with the Gearbox Ultimate. Point blank period. I was laughing when people try to speed up, put my paddle up, and they couldn't get it. And I'll also say, like, when you're dinking, because of the power and once you kind of learn to dial it in, I mean, you're able to hit some really aggressive dinks. Sometimes I think the difference between intermediate players and advanced players is the effectiveness of dinks, right? I think a lot of intermediate players are just kind of, working on getting the dink over, where advanced players are like hitting aggressive dinks. They make you move. With this paddle, you're able to do that. Like, you keep it in play. I mean, you're going to hit deep, harder dinks. That's going to be like harder for players to, combat with. So that's the really, really big positive about this paddle is when you're in defense and when you're at the net, you have a massive advantage due to the amount of power that is locked into this. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're not careful, you're gonna overpower a lot of things. When you first get this paddle, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. It just is what it is. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes because you're not used to what this can do. There's not a lot of paddles like this, and you're gonna make a ton of mistakes. I remember the first game I played, I was like, oh my gosh, I was even playing timid because I knew the amount of heat that this thing had inside of it. But the good thing is the more you play with it, the more time you spend with it, the more dialed you're gonna get, and it just kind of becomes a second nature of your game. So in the Pro Series of gearboxes, it has their patented SST core, which this is the technology inside of the face that allows it to do what this paddle does. This unique core enhances energy transfer for explosive performance. So their patented core on the inside, this is what they say, the way the carbon fiber is laid in here, it allows you for the maximum amount of power, spin, and control, stability. Now again, with that being said, it's gonna take you some time to get to that point, but once you get to that point, everyone who I've seen or play against that have gearboxes that are good with them, they're very hard to beat. Now, people who are just getting into them, you're very easy to beat because you're still learning the paddle. You have to become one with it. But the SST core is really, really cool technology because even the way these paddles sound, they sound muted, they sound very dead. I was playing with it the other day and this guy was like, man, it's like throwing me off because I can't hear when you're hitting the ball. That's one thing I do like about these paddles, the sound that you get when you hit with them. So Gearbox claims that this has a new dwell time, which means enhanced dwell time offers superior grip so that you're able to shot shape and have really powerful spin. And they say that they've improved the dwell time on these paddles, which allows you to do more creativity on the court. Now, one big thing about my reviews is I'm not gonna go super in depth into the technology because if you're like me, you hear it, but you don't fully understand it, right? So my reviews are different than a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys out there, they have super in-depth reviews, and I've told them, like, that's not my lane. My lane is to say, I'm an intermediate player, I'm in the 4-0 range. This is what feels good to me. This is why it felt good to me. And if it's something that would fit your needs, all right? So just know, my paddle reviews are gonna be different. I've had comments like, well, what's the circumference of, I don't know. I just don't know. I can give you that information, but it's really just not gonna do any good. I wanna give more practical reviews on how paddles feel to someone who's played the game for 7 months, right? And so if you're someone who struggles with power, if you're someone who wants to be more aggressive at the net, this is really a great paddle for you to dive into. This paddle retails for $274.99, so it is a little bit more costly. But again, the people that have played with this paddle and they get used to it, they are so hard to beat because the shots are very aggressive. I mean, I've gotten hit in the face from someone that was driving from this paddle. Yeah, it left a big mark and it hurt. But the point is, like, it's hard to defend against these because they're so powerful. And once you dial them in, like, you can't get anything past them. They put their paddle out, they're resetting. I know a guy who I play with all the time. I'll drive it to him. He's in no man's land, you know, in the middle from the baseline to the kitchen. I'm like, just like driving at him. He's putting his paddle out, it's just coming right back over. If you want a paddle that's gonna last you a long time, but give you also a competitive edge, and if you're willing to put the time in to learn this, this is really a great option. A lot of people who love EULA but understand that they're not USA approved, a lot of them go to Gearbox because of the power that's behind them. You can play with any tournament in this paddle, that's a nice thing. And so if you're kind of in the EULA brand and you like how those paddles feel, then I really suggest you giving a shot to the Gearbox Pro Ultimate. It's just a great paddle, it really is. It's hard to learn, but once you learn it, you're gonna be a rock star. If you want to get this paddle at a discount, you can go to rightorec.com and you can go on there and you put Chase in the discount code and you will get a discount. It's just a great paddle. I mean, it's got good weight, it's got a good handle, feels good in the hands, but it's going to allow you to, again, be aggressive and stay persistent and eventually consistent with it. And it's gonna make things very difficult for your opponent. So if you tried the Gearbox, let me know in the comments or what your experience has been. And also let me know if there's other paddles that you want me to do. I have a lot of reviews that I'm doing. We're trying to shift through a lot of videos right now because we've just been really busy. But yeah, super excited that I got to play with this. This is a great paddle. I'm gonna keep it in the bag. And yeah, let me know what you think, but don't forget to subscribe, comment, like the video, help us out. Go follow me on Instagram at Chase_Cullum, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.